You're listening to The Financial Outfitter, helping turn dreams into cherished memories. Sponsored by BPG Planning, purpose-based personal financial planning because it's about more than your money.
This is the Financial Outfitter podcast, where our aim is to inspire you to turn your dreams into cherished memories. We believe that the lifestyle, the sporting lifestyle, and its pursuit holds the remedy, the prescription to what ails the human spirit in the modern world. Thanks for taking some time, your most precious of assets, to listen today. We are in the den. We are in studio with a friend of mine, third generation future business owner. Maybe, at least for me, more importantly, I would consider the engine and the glue of the Pittsburgh chapter of Safari Club International, and a recent recipient of Safari Club International's Women Go Hunting Award. Right? Did I get that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So because this is really a new endeavor, meaning the Financial Outfitter podcast, I'd like to share with the listeners that we really have three kind of silos of content. One is adventure. So those individuals who've gone hunting and fishing and had interesting experiences. And the idea, again, is to encourage and inspire other people to take that next step, book that trip, pick up that phone call, talk to someone. The other one is for people that have taken their passion with hunting and fishing and turned it into a career path. Again, to encourage people to take that next step. And then finally, the last one is conservation and charity, right? Today, for you, we really want you to share with us your most recent hunting adventure. And actually, before the show, when we were talking, maybe we have to at least touch on the trip that you have planned in, the very short future, right?
Mm-hmm.
So before we get into that, I find it interesting, and I think there's some value because many of us come to the lifestyle in a different way, meaning we find that we have developed this passion for the outdoors because we were introduced to it by someone, or it was part of our family, or some combination of. So at what point, do you feel, if there was a pivotal point in your life that you were like, I really love this, I really like to do this, and I could see me making this a big part of my life moving forward?
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me today. I'm honored to be here. And I would say that was when I was about 6 years old. My dad was coming back from a hunting trip with my uncle, and I was really confused why there were all these dead birds in the driveway. And I started asking questions, and my dad said, well, when you're big enough, maybe you'll do this too. So it was about 4 years later, and Safari Club International, the Pittsburgh chapter, was having their annual youth pheasant hunt. And my dad said, well, I'm going to take you out and see if you have any fun doing this. So I went out. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was around a welcoming community who explained to me the safety of hunting and how to do it properly and have a lot of fun doing it. And after that, we shot some birds, had a great day. And I said to my dad, I want to be an international big game hunter, because I heard a lot of the members talking about going to Africa. My dad said, we'll never be able to afford to do something like that. So that kind of was the little seed. And when someone tells me I can't do something, I push really hard to make my dreams come true. So I worked really hard for a really long time and started my international big game hunting career.
You touched on something that, I definitely want to follow up on, and that is, of the women that I have met that have gone down that big game hunting path, they've always struck me as very, very self-confident, right? And I don't know if you could say, well, they were self-confident and then they got into hunting, or was it hunting that made them confident? Or has there been anything about your journey, pursuing hunting adventures that have contributed to your character?
You have to have a lot of patience and a lot of fortitude to be in this sport. And I think over the period of several years of a lot of patience and knowing when I can afford and can't afford to do something, taught me a lot of fortitude as well. And then you're right, you do have to have a lot of confidence to do these things and to study ahead of time and know where your shot placement will be. And so you don't mess up and have a boo boo,
Mm.
which I have done. And I've learned a lot from
Mhm.
that. But hunting is a sport where there's constant fluid and movement. And it's so important to be adapting with the newest technology that comes out, whether that be your rifle, your bow, or the
Mhm.
actual hunting gear itself,
Mhm.
making sure that you are fully prepared for whatever elements that you are going to embark upon.
Yeah. So speaking of things that have embarked upon, last year, 2023, you went to Africa, right?
A couple times,
A couple
yes.
times. So what, just kind of tell us how that happened. Like how does, if somebody would want to go to Africa that's never done it before, how did you end up going where it is that you chose to go?
Sure. So the first trip that I went on with my dad was in June of last year. We went to South Africa and to hunt plains game. And that relationship we developed with the outfitter through Safari Club.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only way we had a connection to do that, because if not, I would have no idea where to even
Right.
start. So it's great to be part of an international organization that vets its outfitters and
Mm-hmm.
to ensure that you're going with a safe and reputable person. And then in August of last year, I decided to go by myself to Botswana, and I booked the trip within 5 days, and I hunted leopard and 2 elephants while I was there.
Holy cow. Well,
Mhm.
so there's a lot to unpack there, right?
Mhm.
Between the short period of time that you book the hunt, and then of course the animals that you hunt tend to be, and let me see if I can get this term, charismatic megafauna, right? They tend to be a lightning rod, right? But so how did that happen? Like how did that come about? Most people are not at the drop of a hat traveling halfway around the world. Um, so how does that even happen? Primarily because of the relationship?
Well, how it happened was last year at the Safari Club International Convention in Nashville, I met a gentleman who operated out of Botswana hunting leopard and elephants. And I spoke with him, and he even said to me recently, he said, I was just so impressed with how you carried yourself, because what young female comes in and is very demanding, he said in a loving term, of what I wanted and what expectations I had. And he said he had never really had that from a young female before. And he said his season was completely booked last year. And I said, well, maybe for 2024, we'll figure it out. So he called me in early August of last year and said, hey, I have a cancellation for a leopard hunt, is how it all started.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, is there any way you could be in Botswana for 5 days, or in 5 days? And he gave me a price I could not say no to. So I luckily worked for my parents. I went to my mom's office and I said, this is the opportunity I was provided. She said, book your flight right now and go. So I went all by myself with literally a backpack and a small carry-on bag, flew to Botswana. And my guide, I'd only met one time before. And that's all I really knew about him, is that he operated in Botswana and he did really cool leopard and elephant hunts. So I land on the ground. He's there at the airport and he's like, you ready for an experience of a lifetime? I said, yeah, let's do it. So we drove about 3 hours into the middle of the Kalahari Desert and camped in tents, which I was not expecting. I
Mm.
was expecting kind of the South
Yeah.
African like chalet.
Right. Right.
But I was in tents and going to the bathroom in bushes. And
Right.
so after that initial shock of 24 hours, I said, well, I'm here. I'm just going to embrace it. So fly camp-esque, and it was a absolute blast. So I hunted my leopard.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, I was sitting at the tent for dinner one night, and he said, well, I have 2 elephant permits. What do you want to do? And he gave me a price I couldn't say no to. So I did the 2 elephants then.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a whirlwind, and for most people, a chance of a lifetime, right?
Absolutely.
Being at the right time, right place at the right time,
Mm-hmm.
and those types of things really don't happen accidentally. So you need to be able to have the opportunity to put yourself in a position where you can meet those types of people. And really, SCI does a great job of that.
Absolutely.
It really is for those people that are not members or haven't had the opportunity to attend the convention. It's the resource that you need if you really want to take the next step.
Mm-hmm.
So okay, so you're a young female by yourself. and Botswana, right?
Mhm.
Not something that happens every day.
No, my
Um,
parents weren't crazy about it, but
so if you were knowing what you know now,
Mhm.
right, and of course you prepared it with minimal amount of time,
Mhm.
um, would you do anything differently, or how would you advise someone that was in your shoes, like this is what you should really be prepared for?
Mhm. I think the spur of the moment trips are the most fun because you have no time to prepare and you're just going to jump right in and make the best of it and figure it out. Knowing what I know now, if I were planning on booking that hunt, I would definitely make sure that I knew a lot about shot placement. Whenever I
Hmm.
first shot my first elephant, my shot was not 100% correct. And it turned into a 2 day ordeal tracking that elephant down. And so research, research, research. And I did that with my plains game hunt because I had plenty of time. I had a year's notice to really understand where I was shooting my animals.
Hmm.
But with this trip, I didn't. And I was like, well, I'll just figure it out. Don't do that.
Yeah,
Do not do that, especially
right.
with a animal with a very large price tag attached to it.
Right,
Mhm.
right. So, and particularly, we're here in Western Pennsylvania, and you're obviously using a gun, right? A
Mhm.
caliber that you're not using here at home,
Mhm.
right? So, what were you using?
So with my leopard, I
Mm,
actually shot it with a shotgun with
mm,
buckshot,
mhm,
and we hunted the leopard over dogs.
right.
So what they do is they basically get the leopard kind of bayed either in the tree or on the ground, and mine was actually on the ground.
Hmm.
And then what happens is he turned towards me and started to charge truck. So you
Hmm.
just start shooting and
Yeah,
till he's down on the ground.
right.
With my elephants, shot him with a 458
458.
in the
Yeah.
brain.
So, had you shot a caliber of that size before?
No,
No.
never.
Yeah, that's a big. That leaves a
Mhm.
mark as
It
well as a
does.
memory.
It does.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because female shooters typically tend to be a little bit more patient. And whenever I went out for the practice shots, I nailed it the first time and my PH said to me, he's like, "There's no way. That's just total luck." And all the skinners and trackers are around and they're like, "There's no way this girl did that." And they had me do it 3 more times and nailed it every single time. They're
Oh,
like, "How can you do that and then do it repeatedly again?" It's just when you're in the mode and you know you have a job to do
yeah.
and you want to do it, you just zone out and it doesn't matter how much it kicks or you're not thinking about it in the moment.
So, have you been in touch with the outfitter since the trip?
Yes, I talk to him all the time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I was gonna say usually that leads to a larger relationship,
Hmm.
right? Now, did you know, like, when you went to Africa the first time? When did you become aware that that SCI had this award, the Women Go Hunting Award?
I had no idea about it, and I received an email one day asking if I would participate in the program. And basically, what SCI did was collect photos from women hunters, and you had to have a couple different criteria. How many photos you submitted helped increase your rankings. When
Mm,
you submitted helped increase your rankings.
mm,
And I was the lucky recipient of one of the awards.
wow.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes, and they had
So,
a reception during the actual international convention for women only, which was pretty cool. There was
yeah.
some big name female hunters there, past Diana Award winners
Hmm.
as well. So it was really nice to mingle in the community that typically it was tough. A couple years ago, whenever I would go to international convention, there was no outlet to mingle with other female hunters, and
Hmm.
sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know if I can do this. And that's when I decided years ago, I'm like, well, I'm just going to run with the big boys. I'll compete against the men and I'll figure it out. But it's nice having a opportunity for someone who's new to hunting in a welcoming community.
Yeah, and I mean, and I think that this still holds true, and that is it's the fastest growing segment, demographically
It is.
in the hunting community, and there's probably a lot of reasons for that, but it's good to see that there's uh, a community that continues to build,
Hmm.
right? Um, we even see it in clothing,
Yes.
right? Now there's more than one provider
Hmm.
of female hunting clothing.
That was the hardest thing to figure out a couple years ago is what type of clothes to wear because there were really no good options.
Right.
And I'm not a typical female build either, so that's really tough. So I was using men's clothes and having my seamstress alter them but now luckily Kuiu came out with a line of
Yeah.
solely women hunting clothes, which is making it a little bit easier. But not all the styles are available in the female fits, so I'm still stuck in some of the men's clothes.
So, speaking of clothing, you were in Botswana in August?
In August of last
August.
year.
So, what's the temp like? What are the conditions like?
It's a big swing. At night, it is frigid, high 20s. In the day, it'll be almost 100. I mean, it is a big, big
Wow,
swing
that is a huge.
because you're in the middle of the desert.
Yeah, I would not have anticipated
Hmm.
like that. So well,
A lot of
you
layering.
didn't take much though. You
No.
didn't take much in the way of
Backpack and a
clothing.
carry-on, that's it.
Yeah. Any particular piece that you wish you had or you had that you were really glad you did have?
I was really happy I had a good pair of binos
Yeah.
because there was whenever you're looking for elephants, you can't walk right up on them, nor can you drive the truck close to them. So you're looking, and then you have to make sure there's a lot of requirements to shoot an elephant.
Right.
Tusk size, age of the elephant, ensuring it's not a breeding elephant. So you try to figure that all out from a distance, but then you have to walk up to the elephants too. We probably walked
Yeah.
up to 50 elephants before I shot the first one,
Mhm.
making sure that they were all either eligible to be shot, or if they weren't, then it's all right, on to the next one.
Yeah, and again it's a really hot topic right now,
Mhm.
right? The general public probably thinks, oh yeah, you can't, you're just indiscriminately out shooting elephants, and
Mhm.
that's absolutely not the case.
case.
And in most places where there is a proven scientific management plan in an effort to create a sustainable resource, using hunting as a tool for conservation, these animals are almost handpicked. Wouldn't you say that? Like they have it dialed down to, this is the type of animal we need to remove from the herd,
Mhm.
and this is how many we can do each year, and thus that's why there's permits,
Yes.
and it's thus not like you buy a license and go shoot an elephant.
Exactly.
Right. Do you know what the age requirement was?
I don't know that, but what I do know is there's actually a government game scout that goes out in the field with you.
Yeah.
So not only is the PH there, the assistant PH is there, then you have the trackers with you. Then you have what they call a community guide. So the elephant and where the community you're shooting the elephant in,
Yes.
they have to have a representative there to
Mhm.
ensure everything's following the rules. And then there's an actual government game scout there as well. So old African hunting, it would just be a PH and the hunter. But
Yeah.
now it's this whole, to ensure everything is being done ethically.
Right.
There's a whole tribe of people going in with you, which is a real challenge when
Yeah.
you're trying to be quiet and stock up on an elephant. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, I don't, that's interesting, right? Because you have an entourage,
Mhm.
basically.
Oh, yeah.
And I can share this, so in last year, October, I went to Spain to hunt ibex with a bow, and I had 3 government game scouts with me.
Mhm.
So it's like, it's hard to hide one person
Mhm.
on the side of a mountain with no trees, but to hide 3 people is, you wonder how you're going to actually get it done with that many people in tow.
Exactly.
So, just, right before the show, before we started here, you kind of announced that you have an adventure coming up, and I think we'd be remiss if we didn't maybe touch on that, right? Again, because it's not usual, it's not out of the box, it's not something that people, I've been to Argentina. This is not one of the things that I've had an opportunity to do. So why don't you share with us like what just happened?
Sure, absolutely. About less than an hour ago now, I decided that I was going to go hunt a puma in Argentina. Heavily regulated animal. Permits are being released, conservation permits, because they're killing cattle.
Mhm.
And very similar to the leopard permits that are issued in Botswana, they're killing cattle. People can't survive because that's a main source of their income, or that's the way that they eat.
Mm.
So puma permits were released on Monday of this past week. And I got a phone call from an outfitter I'd been working with down in Argentina, planning a big hunt for 2025. He said, "Hey, I have this puma permit." And he told me the price. And I said, "I'm not paying that." And he said, "Sharpen
Yeah.
your pencil." And he came back with a price I couldn't say no to, with some added benefits as well while I'm there. And then I said, okay, let's talk about this a little bit more. So he was working with his contacts down in Argentina, secured everything about less than an hour ago, sent me the information, and I said, all right, let's do it. So I'll be in Argentina within less than 3 weeks.
Wow, that's fantastic. I mean, and again, another example of hunting as a tool for conservation. People want to feel, however, they want to feel a certain way, and that doesn't necessarily make it right. Whether it's Africa or South America or North America, these, particularly cats, right? They tend to be very emotional, and we see this issue right now. It's the battle is the front line is Colorado, right? Where they're struggling to maintain a sustainable number of predators. And if you ban the hunting of them, it becomes unsustainable. And what you're basically risking your biodiversity. So the last 2 times I was in Argentina, you couldn't hunt the animal because there were no permits for it.
Correct.
So clearly they're doing some research. I'm not familiar with it, but they've gotten to the point where, well, the truth is it's probably gotten to the point where it's a little problematic. And
Yes.
they've had to issue these permits. So 3 weeks. I'm thinking the time of year right now. So because they're opposite, right? We're going into May. So they're going into which is our spring. They're going into their fall.
Correct.
Right. Do you know geographically where you're going to be?
Yes, I am. I do know. I just found out today. Originally, I was going to be in the Lampampa area, but now we're going to be in El Caliphate. So
Okay.
it'll be a little bit like towards the ocean side.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Mhm.
So I always think when I think puma, I think mountain lion,
Mm-hmm.
and you think they're going to be in the Andes,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not always the case.
Correct.
They roam.
Hence why there's conservation permits in this area.
They've roamed a long ways, and that is really I think what a lot of folks don't realize is that there's incredible similarities between a large part of Argentina and like our American West.
Mm-hmm.
If you think about the Rockies down to the Andes, it's the same spine.
Mm-hmm.
It has the foothills, arid areas, plains, and a ton of ranching. So agriculture is huge for them. Cattle, I think, is one of their biggest exports.
It is.
So it makes sense to manage predators, right? Well, normally I would ask you like, what's next? But that's kind of like what's next for you, right?
Yes.
That wasn't exactly on the schedule. So is there anything that you've already planned that's kind of a follow-up from that Botswana trip?
So I hopefully will be able to go back to Botswana in a couple years. I'm going to do Cape Buffalo there as well. And then my PH from the Botswana trip, he's helping me arrange a month-long safari in Zimbabwe in 2026. And that'll be for a hippo, crocodile, a cow elephant, and a lion.
So you're going to do the dangerous game, right? So wait,
The
not
more
5.
dangerous, the better.
Yeah.
That's dangerous 7.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say,
I'm
that's
working
not
on the big 5,
Right.
but then dangerous 7's, the
So
hippo and the croc.
yeah, I feel like I should know this, right? But Africa has not really been in really on my radar until like this year in terms of where I would like to go. But so the big 5 include buffalo, lion, elephant,
Leopard, and rhino.
and rhino. Now, before everyone has a stroke, you're not killing rhinos. They're being darted.
You can dart them, which is called a green hunt.
Right.
You can also shoot them as well.
You can.
You can, and you can kill them. The way you can do that is heavily regulated conservation permits. You can do it in Namibia, and they're exportable. You can literally, I'm not even kidding when I say this, only hunt 2 a year for the entire world. And what they do is they actually auction off those conservation permits. So, and 100% of the proceeds go back into regulating rhino population. For example, last year, one of the permits went for $450,000.
Well, hopefully they can do something with that.
They can do a lot with that. There's a lot of research coming of the population management that's coming out of these large funds of these hunters are want to hunt them, and these big, big, big price tags they're paying for them. It's really doing a lot of good in the area. And then in South Africa, you can do what they call a green hunt. You can dart a rhino. And those usually range between like $7,000 and $10,000.
Mhm.
Those rhinos, they're no longer breeding rhinos, so it's very ethically
Yeah.
done.
I have a friend that actually did that last year.
Hmm.
So they dart it, they do all the research on it, get
Hmm.
all the measurements from it. And basically you have somebody that's paying for the research.
That is correct.
And
Hmm.
in these other areas, a lot of that money is also going to the anti-poaching efforts
Hmm.
to actually pay people to, they're basically full-time wildlife guardians.
Yes.
Yeah. And that's something that, we don't, we don't experience here in the United States.
Hmm.
So it's kind of a foreign concept to a lot of folks. Now, that's the big five, but then there's two on top of that. Is that the hippo?
The hippo and the crocodile. That's for the
Hippo and the
dangerous
croc.
seven.
That's what I thought.
Hmm.
Again, you see caricatures of hippos, like, friendly hippo, dancing hippo. That's not the case.
Extremely dangerous animals.
Extremely dangerous.
Extremely
animals.
dangerous.
I don't know.
Very fast too. People think they're slow. They are fast.
Mhm.
When I was in South Africa in June, we were by a watering hole, and I'm like, "Oh, look at the cute little hippo in the middle of the river." And it starts to slowly move towards us, and then it started to book it through the water towards us. And my PH said, "Get in the truck. We have to go right now." I'm like, "Well, we're in the truck. Like, they're not gonna hurt us." He said, "No, they will come up on shore and they can knock this truck."
Ram
Yes.
them. Yeah.
Mhm.
Wow.
So we had to dart out of there.
Good idea.
Yes. Didn't want to be hippo sandwich for lunch.
So, conscious effort to pursue the big seven,
Hmm.
right?
Dangerous seven.
Or the
Mhm.
dangerous seven, right? Is it the big five?
Big five,
Big
dangerous
five,
seven.
dangerous seven.
Mhm.
Okay. Um,
There's a lot of other slams you can do in Africa as well. The spiral horn slam, which I completed, tiny 10. So I'm just slowly
mhm,
chipping away at them.
mhm. So you're always going to get some kind of reaction when you talk about hunting specifically animals like an elephant, right?
Mhm.
And I feel fairly certain that the general public is, well, they're unaware of all of the things that happen as a result of the harvesting of an elephant. You know, aside from the economic aspect of it, they are usually animals or oftentimes animals that are, challenging the local villages
Mhm.
and their way of life. So, and you have all of these people with you while you're hunting, and one of them is a representative from the community or geographic area where you're hunting, right? So, do they get to take possession of the elephant? How does that work?
Sure. So it's extremely regulated, extremely regulated. So whenever you hunt an elephant, first of all, they're extremely destructive animals. They'll come through a village and their sense of smell is so great. They'll smell the wells with the water, and especially during the dry season, they'll come through and they rip up the wells to get the water. They'll blow right through the houses. I mean, the houses over there, they're made with mud and sticks. I mean,
Hmm.
it's nothing like we see here in the United States. So all it takes is for them to even just to kind of walk near them and they're crumbling.
Hmm.
They kill people too. I mean, it's easy for them to charge. I mean, I was charged while I was there by 3 bull elephants. And I mean, it was pretty nerve wracking right until the end. And luckily, my professional hunter was able to scare them off. But whenever an elephant is harvested, all of the meat gets donated to the local community in which it was taken out of. So, for example, an elephant will feed 120 people for 6 months. That's a
Wow.
long time. And they don't have refrigerators or anything like that. So what they actually do is, and I got to be a part of this process, is when they come to take the meat, they actually cut it in little strips and
Mm.
basically dehydrate it out in the
Mhm.
sun.
Mhm.
And then when they're ready to eat it, they rehydrate it. I actually had the
Wow.
opportunity to eat some elephant straight off the one that I harvested, and it was not good. Not good. Very tough. But they use the bones, they take the organs, especially the intestines, they'll use it for casing on
Mhm.
things. And what I get to keep is the tusks, trunk, head, and then I also kept a lot of the skin to make luggage and some different types of furniture. And then I also kept the legs for bar stools.
Wow.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes.
There's some character
But
there.
there is nothing left at the end. I mean, it was amazing. And this whole experience was probably, I'd say, 12 to 14 hours,
Hmm.
cutting up the meat, having the community members come, and they literally just have random bags they throw this meat in. I mean, it's the poverty is so real. I mean, you never see anything like this in your life, and you can see things on TV, but it's nothing like seeing it in the flesh.
Hmm.
These people are coming up crying. They're so excited because they have food. They have no other means for food.
Hmm. And I think that that's conveniently passed over by the people that aren't interested in understanding the entire scope of the situation.
Correct.
It's a multitude greater than actually shooting an animal, right?
Absolutely. I mean,
There's
there's
yeah, the economic and the humanitarian aspect of it is
mhm.
completely ignored.
Hmm. And it's a real shame because, I mean, these people, they beg for hunters to come over. Well, part of my trip in Botswana, there was an emergency char permit released, which is basically a community needs food immediately. Like we need to hunt an animal right now. So I was able to shoot a gemsbok for them, and they were just so appreciative to have that meat. And then that animal, since it's a special permit, they keep the horns, they keep the skin, they keep everything. I don't get anything out of that,
Hmm. Yeah,
but they don't have the means to do it themselves.
yeah, and it's hard to relate to when
Hmm.
you're living in the United States, right?
Hmm.
But the challenge is real, and I really, Africa seems to have a spotlight on it when it comes to these things, but it's not just isolated to Africa.
Hmm.
There are other places in the world that face similar challenges.
And these countries, they if they can release more permits and through their conservation efforts that they're figuring out how many animals can we sustainably take out,
Hmm.
they can make so much money. And that just fuels their economies. And to us in the United States, it's a drop in the bucket, but
Hmm.
to them, it's everything
Hmm.
when these hunters come over and
Hmm.
hunt these animals with very large permit fees.
Hmm. So, I have not been really involved with Safari Club International all that long, maybe 4 years. So, you have been involved for a very long
Long
period of time.
time.
Like I don't even know. So
Hmm.
tell me, like, when did you really say get involved? Maybe share with us your role today and where you think that you might like to take that.
Sure. So I became involved. Actually started going to the banquets when I was about 10 years old. And I would go with my dad and my mom, and I would just sit there and I'd go around and look at the animals at the shows, talk to people. And I loved every second of it. And then I kept pushing to be involved in helping put on our annual banquet. So at the time, the two ladies running the banquet, they would let me help with setup. And I got to be on a couple little planning meetings, and which was more of me just helping them stuff ticket packages.
Right.
But then when I was 18, I actually was able to join the board of our Pittsburgh chapter
Wow,
and
you were on the
became
board at 18.
18 years old. So I did calls remotely from where I was going to school. And I had a blast doing that. And then whenever I came back full time after college, I was the head of the marketing committee, creating our publication called Crosshairs that we send out to our members. So I edited and put that together. And then most recently, through the pandemic, I served as our president of our chapter, guiding us through those
Hmm.
very challenging times. And then after that, I became our banquet coordinator. So my role now is putting together a banquet of 550 people and raising money to do a lot of good things.
Hmm. Yeah, and that is as I've gotten to witness, a just a giant job.
It's a huge job.
It's really I would not want to do it. Thank goodness that you do it because it's a massive amount of work,
Hmm.
and
It is.
I think unless somebody's done it, there's no way to really understand how much work goes into that.
There's no way. Last year, if I quantified the amount of my time and my staff at my business's time into it, we have over 2,000 hours in that banquet putting it
Wow,
together.
wow.
It's a lot of work.
Well,
It's a lot of fun, though.
yeah, and it shows.
Mhm.
It
Thank you. I
it
appreciate that.
definitely shows. And whenever you go to other events, it makes you can really appreciate what you've done.
Mm.
I certainly do.
Thank you.
So what's next? With your position with SCI.
I love the banquet coordinator role. Definitely going to stick with that for the Pittsburgh chapter.
Glad to
And
hear
then don't worry, Brian, you're good. And then after that, at the same time, I'd really like to move up in the ranks of Safari Club International. And my dream one day is to be the president of Safari Club International. I mean, that's definitely a dream of mine, and I'll get there.
That's awesome.
Just take some time.
That's fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Go big, right?
That's right.
That's fantastic. So, the financial outfitter is, a new thing, right? And we're really just kind of starting to market it. And when it comes to marketing, that's your world.
Yes, it is.
So your company, Unity Printing, has helped me with more than a handful of things, which I've been thrilled with. So why don't you just maybe take a minute or two and share with everyone what Unity does?
Absolutely. So, Unity Printing, we're a third generation family business. We've been in business over 45 years now. We operate in Latrobe in about 50,000 square feet. And we do everything ink on paper, all the way through to screen printing, embroidery, signage, trophies, awards, plaques, laser engraving, sand carving. We just added to our services. And our huge differentiators, we do everything in house. So we can make sure everything matches across all the product lines. It's a big undertaking on our part, but nothing is more frustrating than when someone would go out and get a t-shirt and it wouldn't match the printed brochures we would do for them or the embroidered apparel. So that's why we decided we're just going to do everything ourselves. It's a lot easier for our clients. Make one phone call and everything's taken care of.
So you're in Latrobe, regional, national. What's your reach?
Actually, we do a lot of international business. So we're a certified woman-owned business. And as a part of that, we leverage that relationship with Fortune 500 companies, which is my role. And I sell to them. And I have several clients we ship all over the world every single day.
Nice.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
It's a pretty cool thing to be a part of. I'm very, very blessed. We have a great team who has a very, very fine attention to detail.
Yeah. So my 200 newsletters, and it's not that big of a deal, right?
Hey, every order matters to me, no matter how small or how large.
Yeah. Well,
Because someone's supporting our business and helping not only my family, but the 30-some people that we support as well.
Exactly. So we're pushing last light here at the Den, and we always like to kind of wrap it up with maybe some final thoughts, any words of inspiration, anything that you'd like to share.
Sure. Don't afraid to be spontaneous. If a great opportunity presents itself, as long as it's safe, do your research. Go ahead and take it. It is so much fun. And do your research on shot placement and know where you're placing your shots.
That's fantastic. And there's a lot of value in that, right? That adds to the depth of the adventure, and I think that that's really what the financial outfitter is about, is to encourage people to do more and give more. So if folks have any questions about some of the specific things that Ashley talked about, her adventures, you can contact the financial outfitter. You can just check us out, the website, and my email is bpitell@thefinancialoutfitter.com. And speaking of the financial outfitter, we want you to like us, follow us, do all those social media things. But know that when you subscribe to the podcast, you're becoming a member of the pack, not the herd.
Our mission is to promote new connections in the sporting community by bringing awareness to opportunities and issues that impact our lifestyle, challenge members to think critically about their role in the modern world, and help others to turn dreams into cherished memories. This episode is sponsored by BPG Planning, purpose-based personal financial planning, because it's about more than your money.